Welcome to Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. My name is Brandon Bornancin, a serial salesperson and entrepreneur, and I'm sitting down with the world's best sales experts to share their top secrets to sales success. We have a special guest, friend, business partner, mentor, advisor. This guy has done so much for the entire team at Seamless, for hundreds of thousands of salespeople, marketers, entrepreneurs. I'm thrilled to have with me Jarrod Glandt, VP of Sales over at Cardone and Cardone Training Technologies. Jarrod, how's it going today?
It's going very well, Brandon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. So you run one of the world's best sales training platforms, curriculums. I'd love to just hear a little bit about, who you are and what you do for the audience. And then I want to get into your background on how you got started in sales.
So I'm Grant's Vice President of Sales. I've been with him for almost 8 years now. And when I started, there were 3 people in a pool house.
And who's Grant?
Grant Cardone. Yeah.
Grant
Cardone, New York Times bestselling author, sales expert extraordinaire. I mean, basically, if there's a preeminent figure for sales and sales training, it's this guy. Went from nothing, built up. We've got 4 companies that do $150 million a year. And he's got a real estate portfolio that just hit $1 billion. So he's doing a lot of things right.
Wow. So you're his right-hand man, the sales guru, the sales team leader. Tell me a little bit about, how did you get here? How did you get your own show, The Young Hustlers? How did you get traveling on the private jet, speaking at all these conferences with Grant? I'd love to just hear, where do you come from, and how did you get here today?
Yeah, so I grew up in, my dad worked in retail. So he ran motorcycle dealerships. So I got from a young age, I was exposed to high transaction sales, and 13, 14 years old, I was going to work with him and just kind of watching how a sales transaction went down. And so I took interest in it, had a good personality, so that kind of fits well with the sales profession. And, over the, course of 12 years, I went from working for my dad as a salesperson through an advertising sales position, making almost $200,000 a year at 20 years old, and
wow,
and went through ups and downs. Blew all my money like a 21-year-old would, and
buying everything and anything that you want.
Yeah,
probably.
I was popping bottles. I was like, man, if I could just not spend $2,000 this weekend. Can you imagine? I was like, if I could just keep it under $2,000 this weekend.
Awesome.
But no, it was that kind of. The low point is what took me to find the interest in looking for something else. And, without getting all into the story, I moved out of the area I lived in, San Diego, to try to get away from
all of that,
bad influences, my best friends, but just, I was having an issue. And, so I moved to Austin and worked with my dad, got myself, situated for, a year and a half or so, and then moved back to San Diego and was ready to actually get serious about my career, and didn't like the job I was in. Dad sent me a YouTube link of this guy because he had bought some stuff from Grant Cardone, and watched every one of the 34 videos that he had on his YouTube page.
34. Now he's got like a billion.
5,000. Yeah.
5,000.
So and then watched every one of the videos and was like, I got to go work for this guy. And then I was really fortunate to get in at the right time. The timing couldn't have been better because it was 2009. Okay. The economy was just getting pummeled. Yep. And Grant was kind of redefining his business, and a lot of things worked out right. But, like with anything, a lot of things can go right, but if you don't take action on it, then nothing will come from it. And so, I like to always try to find the
silver lining?
Well, I like to, when I always kind of knock things down, like I knock successes down, like I try to find ways that they can always be better. I try to find ways.
Always optimize.
Yeah, so I'm always like, hey, I got this great job, and it was because I followed up with Grant for, a month and a half, and it was because, I came in and did all this stuff. But, the truth is there was timing involved in the deal, like with any sales transaction, right? Like timing could just be wrong for the deal. Mm-hmm. Timing could be right for the deal. Timing was right for this one. Activity level was right. Followed up for over a month, virtually every day, almost every single day I called the office. Persistence, timing, everybody kind of in the right mindset. And then I got in really at the ground floor and had the opportunity to lay a lot of the infrastructure that the company now sits on. So,
and how many team members were there when you started? Three. So you were number 3 or number 4?
I was number 4.
Wow.
Yeah. The office was literally in a pool house. I mean, it was a pool house that was 2,000 square feet that was attached to an $18 million home. And so this is where I'm taking my job interview, right? I'm pulling up to this house going, whoa, like in Hollywood, like in Sunset Plaza, which is like the Leo DiCaprio's literally his next door neighbor. Dr. Dre lives 2 doors down. So I'm rolling up in this neighborhood going like, dude, I got to work for this.
Yeah. You see that, you're
this guy's got his shit
hey,
together,
Mom,
man.
Whatever this guy's going to tell me, I'm going to do.
I'm doing it.
Wow.
And so and then the rest is kind of history. So
that's amazing. So you kind of went through school and then you decided to jump into sales. You were doing a bunch of different sales things. You said the ad tech thing was good, but you weren't happy, and you went through some personal things, and then on the uprise, you're like, hey, I'm ready to make a change. I'm ready to dive right in and do something big with Grant. You've trained, how many people do you guys, I mean, it's like thousands, right?
Well, we've got just under 2,000 corporate clients on our sales training platform.
Those are paying corporate clients. And then you've got a ton of other clients that are users that have signed up for the free trial and purchased all the content.
Yeah, probably 100,000, that are individuals. So, we have a pretty good reach, but man, one lesson I've learned is it's just the economy, business, the world is so much bigger than you even think. When we start finding little pockets of business in industries that turn into multiple 7-figure segments of our business, just because we found one client that was a fan that ended up doing well with our program, and then we use that one client, we go out and we just take over everybody in his space, and it's just we use that seed to open doors, and and the next thing you know, we've got a few $1 million a year in business just from one deal.
Wow.
So it's really take a deal, take an opportunity, maximize the opportunity, and then that opens your eyes up to wow, dude, we haven't even skimmed the tip. It's just because I read online, so you're trying to positively impact 1 billion people, or basically Grant, his moonshot is 7 billion people. He wants to have 7 billion people know him. If they hate him, that still counts.
Okay, great. And let's go into, we'd love to hear, how do you join this startup, because we'll call it a startup, three people working on the pool house, right? How do you join this startup?
Yeah.
2009. Okay, you're the sales guy, probably the only sales guy.
I was the
only
salesperson. I was also the
receptionist.
And
the receptionist.
Yeah.
So you start with nothing, and now literally anywhere you go, everywhere you go, Cardone Training Technologies, Grant Cardone, the work that you guys have done on the sales and marketing side is everywhere. So how in sales, what were the strategies, the sales tips? You've been through a lot over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
What were the main themes or things that you did, the big bets that you took? I'm sure it was ups and downs. I'd love to just hear, if you had to break it down into cliff notes of 2009, we were here, now we're here, and these were the big things that we did to get there. What would you say some of those are?
Well, I think from, outside of day to day, the 30,000 foot view of things would lay out, like, number one, you have to be clearly focused on the target and what the goal is.
Okay.
You know, like our message doesn't work for everybody. You know, like the go all in, be unreasonable, like that doesn't work for some people. Like I try to tell people on the podcast, you know, the information that we talk about is not to get you a 6-figure job. It's not for you to make $150,000 a year. Like, that's the information that we talk about will offend you if you are satisfied at $150,000 a year or $200,000 a year.
Right. Because
what we talk about is, how do we get to millions annually plus and get to, you know, 10 million in net worth by the time you're 40 or by the time you're 35, or like we want to take time out of the deal. And so that's tough to stomach for some people because of the sacrifices that you have to make. Like, you know, I definitely had to make some sacrifice. I've been with Grant for 8 years. The first 3 were brutal. Like, you know, you and I have talked about, like,
yeah,
you know,
tell the audience about that, because I think a lot of people, they're gonna see you and look you up from this book, and they're gonna see the private jet that you're on, and they're gonna see you on stage or on the show. But, like, let's talk about some of the stuff that you had to go through the first 3 years.
Oh, dude, so much uncertainty. I mean, you know, like to make money, like, you got to get, you know, at the time, the way the comp plan was structured, like, I was building a residual. So like I didn't even feel any increase in income unless I was getting like 6 or 7 or 8 deals a month, and these are like $40,000 or $50,000 deals, you know. So, like, I wasn't even feeling it until that started happening, and I'd go like one deal in a month, then I'd blank, and then I'd get like 2 deals, and then it'd be blank. It was a new product. We didn't have a sales process for it. We didn't really understand enough about how to. I mean, it was literally a new thing. We took, you know, training which had been almost entirely done live, in on-site in a company or in a seminar, and we were bringing it to people online now. So it was like, how are they going to react to this? How do you need to present it to them? How do you create a process and a system around it so that when it gets implemented, it doesn't fall flat? So there's all these things about not just the pitch and the sale, but the business and the deployment of the product to consider. So,
and it sounds like you were doing sales and almost product development, product management.
100%. And then you know, using customer insights to try to reposition how we present the product. Like, a lot of times the sales pitch has a lot to do with something. Like, you know, I could take this iPhone charger that you have here on this table, and I could say, hey, this charges a phone. But, you know, somebody else may come along and say, you know, I have the ability to tie this up in this weird, crazy thing, and now it can become an unbreakable whatever.
Yep.
And it's the same exact object, but it was used in a different way. And this charger may be worth $26 as a phone charger, but is a different package or a different way you present this, it could be worth $1 million.
Right. Millions.
And it's the same thing. So, like, and that, you know, that's a good analogy for like sales. Like, you've got to make sure you're selling people the right thing with your product, and even though your product's the same, that doesn't mean you present it the same, because every customer doesn't buy the same, and they don't have the same problems that they're trying to solve, and they don't have the same interests, and, you know, like, so you have to make sure that you're like present mind and you're tuned into people when you're communicating with them. It really is, sales is communication. It's not, you know, it's really not this big thing that people talk about as sales. It's communicating with people
and best communicating
and understanding where somebody's at in a buying cycle, what's most important to them, how to highlight what you have in a way that solves their problem to the degree that they'll actually see enough value to give you money. You know, so.
And for the audience, Jarrod's beautiful baby boy Jake and his beautiful wife Sandy are in the background watching the podcast. So if you hear the baby, that is why. We already got him lined up. We're going to try to hire him.
What his bib says? It says I'm the next
big thing. Yeah, we're going to already try to hire him here at Seamless, but I think Jarrod's got first right of refusal for GC, but we'll see. We'll give it a few years. Okay, yeah. So what would you do? You know, because when anyone starts out in sales, it's really terrible, right? You're not good at selling. You don't know how to sell. You're not making a lot of money. You're not closing a lot of deals. Like, how do you stay motivated? Like,
well,
this
is really this kind of is a good way to get us back to the point that we were talking about before, which is like what happens, like what changes, how do you, like, the thing that happens is when most people show up and they get punched in the face, they turn around, and then there's a 70% of them turn around, and then you turn back into it for the 30% that are a little curious, and they get punched in the face again, and 15% of those turn around, and then you get 15% of the knuckleheads that are like, hey, like what's up, man, what's happening here, and then they get punched in the face, and then like 5% of those fall off, and so people keep like falling off as they continue to run into these obstacles and adversity and problems and challenges. And, one of the core things that were probably, that contributed to our success and that will contribute to the majority of the success that most people have is their willingness to show up to adversity, be willing to totally fail, and keep doing it over and over again so that they can get to the point where they actually can set themselves up to win.
Wow.
And so, like, you and I were talking a few minutes ago about, how first year you started, it was all exciting, and then second year it was brutal, and then third year it was like, dude, this is like go time. We got to make it happen now. Like, dude, most people don't even make it to 6 months. Like, most people quit before that. Yeah. And so that's why I'm saying, like, going back, like, the commitment to the purpose and the goal and the target and being connected to that is what's most important, because you were so connected that 6 months wasn't enough. Right. To kill your belief and your passion, and then a year wasn't, and then a year and a half wasn't, and then 2 years wasn't, and then you're all in. And it was the same thing that happened to me, because 90 days in I was like, man, maybe this isn't going to work out.
You start doubting yourself.
Well, yeah, 90 days in I was like, man, I've sold. At that time, I think I had sold 2 deals in 3 months, and I was making a $2,500 a month base, living in LA, in Brentwood, which is like, there's no money left.
Rent is $2,500 in that area.
And so, and on the residual, a deal increases your income, like $100 a month or something. And so I'm like 90 days into this, I'm like,
I can't even pay the bills.
I'm like trying to tap out. I'm like, but I remember I had been consuming some of this information, right? Like, I had been consuming Grant's information, like the 10X rule, and like I'm listening to these.
So programs. He had published those.
He actually,
books
no, I take that back. He hadn't published 10X rule yet at that time, but he had published. He had all these workshops that I'd listened to, on audio. Yep. And he had this program called Rules of Success. And it's still to this day, it's one of my favorite programs. It's like a total cheesy motivational thing, but it was exactly what I needed. And like, going back even today, I'm like, dude, these are like the principles, like, and it's so simple, like, show up. Like, dude, just show up. Yep. Like, no matter like how hard, how difficult, like, just show up. Like, who knows what's going to happen when you get there? Like, right. Like, you're going to cold call on somebody, and you don't know what they're going to say, or what, if they're going to cuss you out or throw you out or call the cops on you. Like, just show up. Like, just show up.
Just do it.
Like just get there. Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, dude, I don't want to go to the gym. It's 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, tired, Jake, my baby woke up like in the middle of the night,
probably 4 times.
Yeah, so and then I'm like, okay, just go down there and just do like 10 minutes. Just go down, get on the treadmill, do 10 minutes, and then that 10 minutes turns into a full workout. Yep. Because you just have to show up.
Wow. So you're when you started, you had this. So did all of that motivational content help you realize, like, look, I'm just going to fight through this no matter what?
Well, you really have to put blinders on, like there's a lot of distractions, like, and again, this goes back to, you need to decide what you're really looking for, and what you're trying to get out of what you're doing. Because if your goal is to make $100,000, like, that's not so exciting. Like, you can go, like, if you're an able-bodied person, and you're reasonably intelligent, like, you can go make $100,000 pretty easily, like 80 to 120 grand, like, that's, you can fall into that area, like category, pretty easy.
Yep.
If you just like do a few things right.
Yep.
But if you want to like get to that like
$500,000, 10 mil net worth you mentioned.
Dude, like if you really want to crack that, like you just have to think differently, and you got to be committed to it, because when you get committed to something big like that, you get the level of excitement that you have and the sacrifices that you're willing to make to get there. Those all like calibrate, like it changes. Like it's at some point, if your goal is 150, you're like, fuck, dude, this is a hard work. It's not worth 150 grand a year, you know? Coming in and working on Saturdays. Like the first 2 years that I worked for Grant in LA, like we were in the West Coast.
And we're recording this podcast on a Saturday evening, by the way.
Yeah.
So that just shows you the type of commitment that you need and showing up. And, Jarrod could have been like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to go home and hang with my wife and the baby. But he's showing up and he's doing, the book so that he could share his deepest and best sales secrets with you. And, so the first two weeks or 2 Saturdays, you're going to the office. That was
it was the first 2 years. I was, and this is where you get a little nutty, right? So like I moved to LA. It was a city I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends there. Like, it was a new job. I'd never cold called before. So there was a lot of things that were new. I just knew I needed to get by this guy because there was a lot of alignment in what we thought, right?
What you believe in and thought, yeah.
Yeah, and so, when I came up, I knew I wanted to make big money. And so the first 90
like
days.
You saw.
Yeah, totally. Big house,
like,
hot wife, LA, like overlooking everything, just like the most ridiculous setup.
Yep.
The Walton family bought his house, by the way.
Wow.
From Walmart.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I
think they tore it down.
The pool went under the house, like in the house.
Yeah, it was like a horseshoe, and it went into the house on both sides. It went into the master bathroom on one side.
You could swim
in the kitchen on the other side,
and then be outside without having to open a door.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Very cool.
That was the first time I saw that.
Yeah. So, anyways, the in the beginning, it was like the first 90 days, I was having all this trouble, and I was just getting acclimated to the town, and I was like, I felt like in LA, it's like the West Coast New York, right? So you're like big city, like, you just get you get so enamored with like everything that is. And so there's this process, and you feel like I'm here, I'm trying to make it, like it was just all this weird stuff, but I wasn't like, it didn't reflect in the activities that I was doing, right? Like I was showing up at the office at like, 9 o'clock when we opened. Actually, it was 8 o'clock. So I was showing up at like 7:50 and then leaving at 5 when the office closed. And then after 90 days, I was like, dude, what am I going to do? Am I going to have to go move back in with my parents because I like am broke? Like what's going to happen? I don't want to do that. Run back with my tail tucked between my legs. So I was like, I got to go all in.
Okay.
And it was a process. It was probably like over the course of a week that I was like...
You're like, I'm either going to quit or I'm going to go all in.
Yeah, I was really like, I was more leaning to the quit side. And then there was something in me because through all this, I'm still listening to his programs because I'm trying to consume the material to...
Sell it better.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to get accustomed to the product, right? Like that's all I'm trying to learn about the product. And at the same time, I'm getting influenced in all these ways. And I was like, you know what? Like, if you're going to quit, like just quit knowing you went all in, because right now you're not all in. Like I was like, dude, have you done everything? If you left, was it a good showing for you?
Yep.
And I didn't feel good about it, and it wasn't. And so I was like, if I'm going to do this, I got to go all in. Started showing up to the office at like 10 to 6 every morning so that I could call on West Coast businesses when they were opening at 9 a.m.
Awesome. And
then I'd stay till 7:30 at night. Working the West Coast, and then I'd work from, the businesses that, would answer phones would typically be from like 7 a.m. in the morning until like noon on Saturdays. And so like I'd work like 7 to noon on Saturdays, and then Sunday was like my groceries. Yeah, it was like my
everything.
It was like
rest of the week.
Keep my life together.
Yeah. So you made this transition. You made the decision that I'm going to do this.
Well, because I got committed, because I was like, I was writing my goals down every day, but I really wasn't like internalizing them. I really wasn't like grabbing a hold of it. So like for me, it was like writing down the goals and then really playing it out. Like, hey, where do I want to be? I remember it was $250,000 a year was what I was writing down. I was like, nice. I make $250,000 a year.
Everything I ever wanted.
I drive a Mercedes. Like, I own 10 apartments. Like, I'm cash flowing, those are just cause I see him making all this money. I'm like, dude, I want that. I want checks showing up every month.
I got to do whatever he's doing.
250 grand,
I'll be rich.
I'm writing this down like that's the moonshot goal.
Yeah.
And I was so excited about it, and that's what continued to push me, and I was dead broke at the time, so that pushes you as well. Oh. But I was just done. I was just done accepting less than I felt like I was capable of.
Yeah.
Not that I deserved, less that I was capable of. Like I think that's something that people do is they settle for like they show up and they give like 6 out of 10 every day.
Ugh. Why even show up, right?
But some people, they think that, and that's why I'm saying like sometimes our message rubs people the wrong way, because I'm like, dude, if I show up at 9.8, I'm like, dude, like
should have been a 10.
What did I miss?
Yeah.
Like we close big deals, like we'll close $1 million deal, like literally it's like a 2-second celebration.
That's awesome.
And so this goes what we were talking about before was like, where do you turn the switch on and off from like super intense, hyper focused racehorse thoroughbred with the blinders on, running full out to, step back. Wow. Like, hey, look where I've come. Like, I'm super grateful for where I'm at. And, I'm able to connect. And like, there's definitely some factoring and figuring that goes on. And it affects your relationships. Like I was single for the majority of that. Like I wasn't, I didn't have a committed relationship because it was not
too time consuming. Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm not going to get committed to one girl right now and like do the whole girlfriend thing because it's just, it's not, I know 100% for sure it will distract me.
Yeah.
So it was like super straightforward, like would randomly meet people, whatever. But like that, like I was not like running around with girls every weekend. Like I was at home, I was reading, I was studying, I was like, it was a full all in thing. And so obsessed, workaholic, what are you doing that for? I remember the people that I hung out with were like, dude, why are you working so hard? Like, God, they'd like do this like mocking like quote because I'd play like Grant Cardone stuff. They'd be like, oh, Grant Cardone. Yo, hey, why don't you come over here and motivate these people, Jarrod? Like they thought
Yeah, assholes.
Like, yeah, look at my paycheck now, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I made more last year than you made the last 6 years.
Right. Now they're trying to hit you up. Hey, man, when can we get together? When can we connect?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally relate to that. I mean, I lost 90. I'm not going to say lost. I think you have to choose what you invest your time on that's not relatable to the goal. So you just have to walk away from those relationships. That
and like all my closest friends are still my closest friends. They all got their own stuff together. One thing that people need to realize, and this is one of the turning points that actually got me to move to LA to go work for Grant, was like, I remember, so we had our little crew and I had like my 4 best friends. Like
awesome.
These were my guys, right? Like,
yep. Have your back no matter what.
Yeah, and so, one of them got married, had a kid. The other one got a girlfriend, started dating. And then I was like, when my one buddy had his kid, we started seeing him less. And then I was like, he's never around. And we start kind of banging on him a little bit. Oh, yeah, what's up, man? When you coming back to planet Earth? Whatever, bullshit. And then he had another kid, and then I remember I was like, my one buddy got married. So like all these things are happening around me, and I'm like, dude, musical chairs are happening right now, and I'm not going to be the one still standing trying to find his chair when the music stops. Because the truth is that everybody at the end of the day, like all they care about is themselves.
All they care about is themselves.
They got and I don't mean that like in a selfish, greedy way. I mean that in like, dude, at the end of the day, like my parents are going to be dead. Sandy's parents are going to be dead, and it's going to be my friends and family. My friends, hopefully they're around, who knows, but like, dude, when we get to that point, it's going to be Sandy and me and Jake and any other kids that we have, and then everything that's attached to that. That is the unit at the end of the day. So
that unit should get the most attention.
People try to hang on for too long to the things that will leave them.
Wow.
And it's like, I want to invest in the thing that I know will be there for the longest period of time in my life. And that's, in order to do that, I need to make sure that, like, dude, like when Jake, who's, he's 10 months old, like when he's 20, like, dude, I want to be making, $2 or $3 million in passive income a year, like,
it's amazing.
I want to be making enough money to be like, hey, look, like, let's find something cool that we can do together. Like, let's find some type of company we can start. I don't want you to worry about money. Like, what are you interested in? Like, I didn't have that choice. I didn't have that option. It wasn't like, hey, what are you interested in? And, if you make money, great. It was like, no, dude, like my parents, they didn't support me. They let me live with them when I needed to, but like they weren't paying my bills for me. Like, dude, I had to pay my own stuff. Like, so I think people get into a position in life where they have to make decisions because of money. It's kind of important, right?
Yeah.
Like, money's not everything, but it's really important.
It's a lot of things.
And so I just think that for me, if it's going to be all about money, I want it to be really intense and for a short period of time.
Really big, all in.
I want to go
as
big,
hard
dude.
as possible.
I'm 34 years old right now. Like at 40, I want to be able to be like, hey, yo, like my new goal is I've exploded every goal that I've set so far. So my next goal is $1 million a month in income.
Wow.
So that changes everything. You make money like that. Like, I know exactly where we need to get as a company in terms of revenue for me to make that.
Oh man,
yeah.
You probably know it's funny. I just texted one of my sales guys. I was like, "Here's your daily goal to do $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, I need you to do $1 million." Literally broke out the amount of revenue, the amount of calls, emails, social touches, everything that he needs to do every day, and the amount of licenses he needs to sell.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's it. Wow, that's huge. So when it comes to the, now you're this massive success. You guys are training,
building a massive
success. You're training 90,000 sales professionals, marketers, and entrepreneurs. Let's get deep into it, because I'm glad we went over your history, because like on the surface it looks like, oh, this dude just met this up and coming sales author, and like he's got it made. No one knows about your struggle for the past 10 years of going broke and nothing to something massive.
Drugs, unemployment, like the whole deal.
Everything.
Like I'm living on
you live in
bad.
your,
like
your
literally
family
like I was living off of like no money. Like it was, I had a buddy that was letting me live with him, and it was like, so it was just like, it was so bad. But in hindsight, it really, like I never ever want to go back there, but it taught me so many lessons. Like, like I would never tell anybody that you need that in your life to you don't need tragedy, or you don't need, like, all you need to know is like, you just need to push, and you need to keep pushing, because just like I was saying before, how the world and the economy and business is infinite amount bigger than people can even fathom. Mm-hmm. Like literally it's a pebble in the Pacific. Like even the biggest companies in the world, like Google, like is a percentage of like the entire economy in the world. Like
super small.
It's so small.
Yeah.
And you get locked into your area or your city or your town or your company or whatever, your industry, and you think like, and that, so when we went out of the industry that we were in, which was mainly automotive from Grant's past, the first 25 years of Grant's career, into these other areas, it was like, boom, we get in furniture. Now we do, $10 million a year in furniture training. Wow. Now, and then we move over into insurance, and we have, $4 or $5 million in insurance. And then
It just keeps going.
Real estate, you start stacking all these things, and it's just like, man, it's just like every time I lift up a rock, there's a freaking gold bar under there, you know? So,
how do we lift up as many rocks as possible?
Yeah, so it's...
So I guess that gets deep into, you know, the secret to sales success. Like, all your experience, 90,000 salespeople, marketers, entrepreneurs. Like, if you were to hire, you know, a new person and like, they're like, Jarrod, like, what's the secret to sales success? Like, I want to be you. I want to crush it. Sales. I want to sell massive multi-million-dollar deals like you and the team are doing. Like, just everything you've endured. You know, I know it's probably a lot of different things, but like, if you had to boil it down to what's the secret to sales success? And
I think that one thing that, like, and again, this is going to be based on my viewpoint, lens, perspective.
Yep, from your experience.
Which is like multi-millions is the target. So my perspective is very different than some people's may be, right?
Yep.
Being completely unreasonable.
Okay.
Like being completely unreasonable with your follow-up, with your commitment to developing your knowledge about the industry that you work in, or you're being completely unreasonable about the curiosity that you expel into like just everything around you. Like, why do things work the way they are? Like, curiosity is such an amazing trait, but being unreasonable with it, like never quitting, not operating with reason or logic. Like, you know, that's one of the things that I look at Grant, and I'm like, dude, that because, like, he says stuff sometimes, I'm like, huh? I'm like, what? That doesn't, like, I'm listening to negotiate, like, literally last week, $170 million real estate deal, an apartment building.
Okay.
And he says stuff, and I'm like, huh? Like, what? Like, it just doesn't make sense because he's operating in, like, without logic or reason. And we are, like, programmed to factor in logic and reason to decision making.
Yeah.
Logic is a dream killer. Logic is a goal killer. Logic is dude, it's a kick in the nuts. Like, logic will kill you because logic was based on safe.
Yeah.
And logic was based
risk.
on conservative. And logic was based on removing risk.
Yep.
And so like being unreasonable about like showing up at the office at 6 a.m. in the morning and staying until 7 o'clock at night. Or being unreasonable about literally like training, like consuming personal development training in the morning, in the car on the way to the work, at the end of the day. Unreasonable about writing your goals down at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. Unreasonable about taking care of your physical health so that you can show up and go all in for 13 or 14 hours in a day and still have energy. Being unreasonable about, you know, like being unreasonable. Like if you can like work that in, that takes care of a lot. Having said that, some people lack the business intelligence required to do certain types of work. Like, people try to come and work with us. They're like, oh man, I want to make millions and do all these big things with you guys. And I just know that they don't have the business intelligence to win with us. Yeah. That doesn't mean they can't make it doing something else. Like, they did this show, I think it was on CNBC, and it was like Blue Collar Millionaires or something like that. And it was like, a guy that, he's a welder or he builds sheds. Like, he's probably not going to be the guy that's going to go in and pitch $1 million insurance deal or a multi-million-dollar, SaaS contract or
you could probably
whatever.
Teach him. You could teach him, but
but there are some things that he's just not gonna. But dude, this guy or an artist, like there are things that people have a gift for, and if they are able to like really figure out what that is, like we're selling to CEOs. Like, some people like they have so much work just to be able to communicate with a CEO. like when we're selling a sales training product, the people that are communicating are a reflection of the product.
Right.
Not just the company, but the product. It's like if somebody calls on you to sell you something and they completely blow it, you're going to be like, hey, dude, these guys are trying to sell sales training and they have the worst freaking salespeople.
Wow.
Like, not only am I not going to buy from you, but like I'm going to tell my buddy because this is funny. Like you guys just called it
viral.
Yeah, or whatever,
smart.
you know, like so it's not everybody's cut out to make millions in the way that they thought they would be.
Yeah.
You know, so like, and it's hard to tell people that in a weird way because it's like we have people that come work for us that are like super committed, all in, but it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like they just don't like their communication is just a little slow. Like they're not super sharp. They're not, they can't think outside of the little box that they operate in. Like
a little sales script or.
Yeah, like they can't adapt. They're not nimble. They're very rigid. Like those things are things that they take time, like a lot of time. We don't have that time. So people want to work with us and I'm like, dude, like you maybe you could be successful doing this, but I can't give you the time. It'd take you 2 years. Ugh. Like where we're at now. Like I came in and I was like, I had the ability to communicate. I always have. I've had a great personality. Like personality-based success as a salesperson is how I would classify like the first, 6 years or 7 years of my sales career was.
Yeah.
I made 6 figures because I had a great personality.
Because people liked you.
Yeah, because people
liked you, wanted to do business with you.
And I think that a lot of people in that $80,000 to $120,000 a year range as a salesperson, all you are is you're likable and you've got a good personality.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
And
like it's not because you are a killer. It's not because you have these crazy skills. It's because, you show up, you're clean, you look clean, you can call on somebody and show up and talk to them about a product. But dude, you're not willing to go into the psychotic place. Like you're not willing to go into, you're not willing to go into the unreasonable zone where you're first in, last out 6 days a week. You're calling people, you're following up with people, you're sinking your teeth into a lead and you're not letting it go until, you're getting cussed at and,
Wow.
So it's just about like who are you? Like who are you? Where do you want to go? How committed are you to that? What are you willing to sacrifice?
Yeah.
Like if you're making $150,000 a year right now and you want to get to $1 million, something must change and you will need to sacrifice something in order to get there. Probably multiple things.
And that's when that unreasonable.
Yep. Hey, I'm not going to have a girlfriend. If girls come along the way, whatever. I want to make $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And being willing to sacrifice that.
So when you hire someone and tell them like you're bringing them on to be you need them to be unreasonable.
Keep going.
Sorry, someone coming into this studio. We got Jake and Sandy back. So, number one trait or number one secret to sales success is being unreasonable. How the hell do you train that, right? Like when you hire a guy, you just hire me. Brandon's getting started to sell for you, and you tell him, "Hey, be unreasonable." Like I don't know what that even means. Like what does that mean, and how do I apply it? You did a great job describing. Obviously, if your target's 100 calls, do 1,000.
You can only become unreasonable if what you are working towards is worth it. So like for us, we talk about money a lot. We educate people about how little money they really have and how 6 figures is a terrible target for income. Mm-hmm. We spend a lot of time with our people on showing them dude, the people that make $200,000 a year are in trouble. They think they're safe, but they're in trouble. We have to reposition the way that they think about money, because that creates some urgency, right? And then we have to help them really clarify their goals. Most people aren't connected to their goals. They're like, oh yeah, I'd like to make $1 million a year. Yeah, but why?
What's the purpose
what would
behind
what would $1 million a year mean for you? If you were able to do that for 10 years, like, what would you do? What would you have? Where would you go? Who would you go there with? You know, like, play the whole thing out. Like, oh yeah, I want to buy a big house. Yeah, how big?
Interesting.
Where? What style? Have you looked? Do you know what a house like that even costs? Like, people don't take the time to like actually seed all the way down to the roots their goals. So they don't really, they can't internalize it because they've never gone down that far down the road. Like, when you're making $1 million a month, when you're making $200,000 or $300,000 a month in passive income, when you're like, when you start stacking all these things up, like when you're like, okay, well, you've got a jet, but like, where does that jet go? How much does it cost to operate that jet? Like, that's where you have to be unreasonable with your curiosity, because then you have to be interested enough to like figure out like, God damn, dude, I buy this $10 million jet. It's going to cost me $2 million a year to operate it. Dude, I got to make more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if you had that plan? What does that mean? We had a hurricane here in Florida last year. The only reason we got out of town is because a buddy of mine sent me his jet and flew us out of here.
Wow.
Every flight was booked on commercial.
Yep.
Like, dude, when we were leaving there, I was like, man, there are people that aren't getting out of town. We had a 4-day-old baby.
Wow.
They didn't have power here. They didn't have power, air conditioning, internet for a week.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So being unreasonable, and it also sounds like with your goals and the purpose behind your goals. So, you know, talk to us about, you know, because you kind of need, it sounds like you need to know what the sales goal, like what your goals are, and then get super unreasonable with that. Mm-hmm. Do you tie the goals to, you know, when you're doing your goals, because it sounds like you write them down every day, every evening. When you're doing your goal planning, your sales goal planning, your life planning, are you just focused on just the sales goals of like, hey, we need to do $1 million a month, right? You need to personally do $1 million a month, which means the business probably needs to do 100 million or $1 billion, whatever it may be. Yeah. Then you're like, once you know that, it's like, well, shit, we need to make like 5 million calls, 4.8 million emails.
Yeah, so when
you're like, I got a team of 10.
You got to go. You got to go that deep. You got to go that deep. Like, not all the time, but you got to go that deep to like figure out the plan. Like, eventually, when you're writing down that big goal, you got to figure out how to do it. Fortunately for me, I'm with a guy where I'm like, hey, Grant, we need to get to 100 salespeople. He's like, yeah, I know.
He's like, it should
and
have been done already.
He's like, let's go. So we just bought the building like last week. We're going to blow all the walls out. We're going to build a massive, we're at 25 salespeople right now. So
the office looks great, by the way.
Thank you for that.
And then when you're writing these goals down, so like, because 10 years ago, or when you joined, Cardone Training Technologies and Grant Cardone, you would have wrote down 100 or 250, and then you could have gotten unreasonable to accomplishing that number. But it sounds like what you're saying is, whatever you write down, you should really be unreasonable with it. Whatever goal you write down, and probably like make it a lot bigger. Like,
well, the thing is once I got to, like the first year I made like 80, and then the next year I made like 170, and then when I hit 170, I started writing down 500. I didn't even get to 250 before I changed the target, because like I had known, I was like, okay, it's too low. Mm-hmm. Most people set goals too low.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you don't set goals high enough. You don't set goals high enough to get you to do the work required to actually hit the target that you're real. So like if I'm like, hey dude, I want to make $1 million a month. If I set that as a target, I do the whole plan, back scale, size of company, number of deals, number of calls, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Yep.
And I end up with, $600,000 a month.
And
that's the principle of the 10X rule.
Yeah.
It's a multiplier. It's like because
multiplier. Big multiplier.
It sounds like. At the heart of it, the 10X rule basically says that nobody factors in for the unexpected. They set a 1X goal or target because they think that it's going to take X amount of work.
Yeah.
But what they don't factor in is the economy or, the trade war or
family issues.
Weather. Somebody gets sick.
The weather. The hurricane could kill a deal.
Closes the office for 10 days.
Yeah.
Whatever. Or a deal you've been working that's going to be a $100,000 deal or multi-million-dollar deal for you. The key guy in the deal gets blown out, and then a new guy comes in and kills your deal. There's all these unexpected things. So it's by a factor of 10, most people underestimate the amount of effort, energy, work, pipeline, motivation, attitude, whatever, that it's going to take to get something done.
We did that, when we launched our company, you and I talked about this, 3 years. And now I'm just starting to finally pay myself a little bit of money. 1/5 to 1/10 what I used to make.
Yeah.
I'm 3 years in and I'm paying myself 1/5 or 1/10 what I used to make. And, what was interesting, and I'm a big fan of all the work that you guys do. And obviously, we promote it pretty heavily. I don't think we probably would have been able to survive at all year 1, year 2, year 3 without being unreasonable. And I think that trait, being unreasonable, the 10X rule,
there's no way
just quit.
There's no way you can make it past 6 months if you're not unreasonable.
Because the logic, you said at the beginning.
Because the logic.
That line was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
The logic creates this safety net. And once you create this safety, you're going low risk, and then you're going to be like everyone else.
Yep.
Wow. So it sounds like everyone who's listening, you got to get unreasonable. You got to write down your goals and get unreasonable. And the best part about that sales secret too, and let me know if I'm wrong, Jarrod, is that you can literally, if your quota, and I just texted this to one of my sales guys, I need you to do $1 million this year. And as I'm driving here to meet you for the podcast, I said, fuck, why did I texted him back and I said, but do the activity of 5 to 7 to 10X. Pretend that the quota is 5, 7, 10 million. Because I know what he's going to do. He's got to sell 3 licenses to our software a day. And now I know that's the minimum. So if he misses it and then we sold 1, then we're not going to hit our number. One day he's off. For that day, we don't hit our number.
Yeah.
But if he's doing 5X, 10X the amount, he could miss a day and we're still golden.
Yeah.
Because something comes up. Deals get delayed. Deals get killed. People move. Whatever it may be. But if you're operating so high, you're being unreasonable with the sales activity, with the sales follow-up, with the sales training, with the sales leads that you're filling the funnel, it sounds like no matter what, you're going to win and come out way ahead of whatever you were doing.
It's the key. I work with a guy that went from nothing to, net worth, he's over 500 million.
500 million.
Yeah, he'll be at $1 billion in probably 2 years in net worth. He's got. I know what happens on the back end, not what people write about or post online, but the unreasonable thing is the thing that got him there.
Yeah.
That, and so that's the thing that I take from him. There's a lot of other things. It's like a golf swing.
You're learning every day.
You got to do 37 different things right, but the one thing is he's completely unreasonable, and that's not a bad thing. It's you should be unreasonable with your goals. How do you make $1 million a month, but then show up at every soccer game, t-ball game, have date nights with your wife and make her feel like a queen, 10X is about abundance in every area of your life. It's not about just the money thing. If you're a 10X with money but a 2X dad, then you fail.
Yep.
You lose. If you're a 10X dad or family man, but you guys are broke all the time, dude, you're failing.
That fails.
So it's you have to look for abundance, and if you're making a ton of money but you're completely unhealthy, you're gonna fail. Eventually at some point that runs out. So it's how do I live the best life? How do I live the ideal life? How am I unreasonable about that to the degree that I will make sacrifices for it?
Wow.
And I think that the thing that keeps people from making that because I know that just made some sense to you right there. You're like, how do you be unreasonable to the point that like you make the sacrifices to do it? Is because you actually like connect with it, and you actually have clarity on it,
like a mission, a purpose, like
but what is the end target? Like, if you know that, you know, it's like if you gave you had two trees standing next to each other, and they were identical trees, diameter, height, root, you know, everything. They were the same exact tree. And you gave two people the same exact axe. And you just said, hey, start swinging, right? One guy starts swinging, right? 3 minutes into the deal, you go over to the other dude and you go, it's going to take you 342 swings to knock down the tree. He knows where the target is. He knows where the end game is. Who do you think finishes? Dude, at 100, when this guy's arms are like bleeding and sore or whatever, like he's like, how many more is it going to take? He has no idea.
Wow.
No clue. Like, no certainty. The other guy knows, hey,
I'm going to do whatever it takes.
One swing at a time. One swing at a time. How do I get to the next one? I know I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer.
Every swing just brings it down a little bit. I'm a little bit closer.
So, like, what's the target? What's the goal? Like, how many swings is it going to take to get there? And then being completely unreasonable about it.
Wow, that's incredible. And when it comes to tying that into sales, so if your target's like $1 million in quota, and you're trying to be unreasonable, would you say, you know, change that number to like 10 or 20 or 5 million?
I would say that you know, and this is a Grantism, like a manager can't set a quota for you. Like, if you're really honest about...
Because they're telling you what your potential is.
Yeah, like, if you're really honest about, like, dude, if you crushed it, like, if you truly went all in, dude, I know I'm not all in all the time. And that's why I bang myself so hard. That's why I'm angry, you know? Like, because I know that I'm pulling off.
You know that you're not living up to your potential
when
you
know?
Stop or slow down.
Yeah, dude, like, all the time, but I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it,
So
and I take actions to improve it. Will I ever be 10 out of 10? Dude, I don't think anybody's ever 10 out of 10. There's always more you can do.
And that's being unreasonable.
Totally.
So right there is just being unreasonable about how you're training and trying to optimize every time.
Like, so it's just like, what do you do to get to the next notch or the next rung on the ladder? Like, it's about that next thing. So, you know, a lot of this, you may not correlate initially to like, well, what do I do when I call the guy and he says he's not interested, or wait till next quarter? Like, this has everything to do with that. You know, the tactics of selling are easy if you can lock this in. Yeah. Because the mission's big enough, the goal's big enough, the commitment's there.
You'll figure it out.
You're unreasonable. The rest can be taught. The rest can be developed. Everything else can work itself out.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And that's like leveraging all the types of sales channels, doing all the types of sales activity, you know, writing all the different sales content, training. If you're being unreasonable, you're able to leverage everything to the max extent to accomplish the big vision, the big goal. I love that. That's I'm really excited for us to share all of this in the book. And then, I know you have to probably run to dinner on this Saturday evening. So we could wrap it up with just two final questions. What's your biggest failure in sales? And what is your biggest success in sales?
The biggest failure isn't one in particular. It's just giving up on a deal, you know? Like, I've given up on deals before, you know? Deals that I knew were deals, you know?
And you just give
up.
Were just logical?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like, this guy told me that it's not going to happen.
But, you know, like, I don't have my phone on me, which is bizarre, but, like, I was cranking on this guy. 2012, I was cranking on him hard for probably 7 months.
Okay.
And I quit on him. I remember for sure. And then nothing happened.
Because you quit? Nothing's going to happen.
So I quit. So I don't feel good about it because I'm like, I shoved that guy off the list or whatever.
And
but
you probably kind of get egotistical with it, like, oh yeah, he would never buy anyway, so we're better off and whatnot.
He texted me last week.
Nice.
He was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing some training, and you're the first guy I thought of.
Wow.
Dude, this guy literally, like, he was interested, and then he went dark.
This is like 7 years later,
months.
6 years later.
7 months. I called this guy, not one thing back. He was it was a big deal.
Yeah.
But like, I was making investments.
Yep. Value-added follow-up,
yeah,
which
totally.
I know you guys talk about.
Yeah, totally. And it paid off, you know. And so I'm flying up next week to go meet him in Tampa. But you know, biggest failure is accepting less than I'm capable of, right? Like quitting
Quitting
too
deals,
soon,
quitting
you know,
on
quitting on deals, you know.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Yep. And then biggest sales success, and it could be anything. It could be a deal, it could be a strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, outside of being unreasonable, like what's your biggest sales success? Like I've got some like different things. Like I remember the first time I made a 6-figure commission check in 1 month.
Yeah.
That was like,
Yeah.
just for me personally, that was one of my biggest like successes in
Yeah.
sales. Cause I just remember like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like that's more than what
I mean,
people
making $1 million in a year was cool. But it's not like, I know this is me going back into like knocking down the success, you know, like there's so much more opportunity, like so much more. So like, I don't even really think about that anymore. Like, you know, we were playing golf this morning, and, you know, I'm playing these, you know, $7 golf balls or whatever, and I lose a golf ball, and I'm pissed, and I'm digging in the bushes for it, you know, and Grant's like, dude, you made like $1.3 million last year finding the ball. I'm like, I'm finding this ball, dude. Like, you know.
He's like, stop wasting my time trying.
But it's just because I don't think about the money like that anymore. Like, it's the target, but like, I want it for I'm buying freedom with it. Like, I'm buying choice with it. Like, I'm not buying things with it. So, you know, like, I'm wearing a Calvin Klein undershirt right now and some flip flops. Like,
I'm so jealous.
Like, I really am super, like, you know, the only watch that I have is like a $6,000 watch that was a gift, you know, like,
because you're lasered in on the goal.
I'm investing all my money in real estate because I'm trying to get passive income, because I'm trying to get freedom. So like, you know, the push. So back to the success, you know, the biggest success that, probably the thing that has created the most success is when I figured out this one question that Grant told me.
Interesting.
Have you seen enough to make a decision?
Have you seen enough to make a decision?
Have you seen enough to make a decision? That one question right there changed everything for me.
What do you mean? Like,
because I started asking it all the time. You know, we had a 60-minute presentation.
Yeah.
And I asked the question 15 minutes in, have you seen enough to make a decision? Yep. Bing, done deal.
Oh my gosh. Why waste the time on the other 15 slides you were going to go over?
Have you seen enough to make a decision?
Have you seen it? So like, what are the types of responses you get?
Are you kidding me? Of course not. We've only been on the call for 10 minutes. All good. I just want to be respectful of your time.
Hey,
if you're ready to rock and roll right now like some people are, I just want to make sure we get it out of the way fast.
Oh my God. I've never used that one before.
Have you seen enough to make a decision? Have you seen enough to make sense of the investment? Have you seen enough to make sense of the money?
And then you probably identify all the different sales objections.
Dude, like, I've taken people I thought I had to do a full demo with to a deal in 10, 15 minutes on a call.
We got to start using that. I'm going to train my people tomorrow. So like, and then you prepare, like, so if they're not ready, do they tell you what they need to see then to get the deal done?
Most of them go, hey, have you seen enough to make a decision? No, I haven't. Okay, good, I'll continue. And just go right back on.
And I bet you you would know more than me, but I bet you some of them would be like, well, I want to learn about the follow-up modules that you have.
Yeah.
Or, oh, well, you didn't even show me the whatever, prospecting, cold calling tips, or email tips, or can you walk me through that curriculum? Like, how often does that happen where they actually tell you exactly what
30% of the time.
So 30% of the time, they're telling you exactly what you need to show them to close the deal.
65% of the time, they say, no, like, they get a little heated about it.
Yeah.
And then 5% of the time, they're like, yeah, I have, let's roll.
Wow. Have you seen enough to make a decision? I bet you 99% of people aren't using that
Magic.
right now.
It's magic.
And then you use that, 15 minutes in, 30 minutes in?
Yeah.
We
have different points. When we have like 3 main pillars of our demo.
Yeah.
And after each one, we ask it.
Wow.
We tell them the price up front on everything so that you can ask that question. You have to give them price up front so that you can ask that question. Hey, Brandon, really respect your time. Just want to let you know my intention on the call is to get a deal done today with you.
Yep.
That's my target. That's my goal. I know what we can do for your business. I'm confident in it. That's why I want to get it done with you today. Before we do that, before we get started, out of respect for your time, I want to go over the pricing so that you know exactly what type of investment you're looking at today. Ping, 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 ping. People have stopped me there and been like, hey, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate that. You're the first salesperson ever that has presented me the numbers up front.
Everyone saves it for the end.
That way they're not worried about it. They're not thinking about it the whole time. That way you set the value up front. They don't think, what if your program is $3,000 a month and they're thinking, oh man, this is worth $500 a month, and then you drop $3,000 on them at the end, what happens?
It's just
yeah, that sounds great. Send me some information. Click, ghost.
dead deal for sure. Oh, wow. Dude, these are some game-changing sales scripts.
These are just the nuggets, man.
Oh my God. I love it because you know how many times people are pitching dead deals or unqualified opportunities? I know my sales guys are pitching unqualified opportunities all the time, and I assume responsibility for that, and we got to fix it. Wow. Have you seen enough to make a decision? Pricing up front, agenda up front. I've actually never seen the intention up front.
My intention is to close a deal today.
My intention is to
get a deal done today. I know what my program can do for your business. I know what we've done in businesses like yours. My goal on this call is to get a deal.
Huh.
I want my intention clear so you know why I'm here today.
That's unbelievable. And we have to wrap up the show with those straight fire sales tips, tricks, and best practices so that you can join the top 1%. Jarrod Glandt, what an episode, man. Where can people find you?
At Jarrod Glandt, JARRODGLANDT on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow me.
Wow. Thank you so much, my man, Jarrod Glandt. Thanks for coming out.
Appreciate you, man.
I'm really excited for everyone.
If you're not on Seamless yet,
get on Seamless.
What are you, stupid?
Yeah, come on. Get on Seamless. You need the world's best sales leads, and then you need the world's best sales training. And they can pick that up.
CardoneUniversity.com.
CardoneUniversity.com. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. We release new episodes every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube to never miss an episode.